Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Robin. I started this channel a few months ago and it's called Follow the Sun Journey. And it is about my 5-year journey after leaving my ex, after bankruptcy and loss, eviction, and I was living a really difficult life for a while. So I left my husband about 5 years ago and it's been really, really rough. And my family, my mother, my sister, and my brother kind of abandoned me because I was not wealthy anymore and I couldn't give them things. And I didn't post last week because something really tragic happened in my life, which I did not exactly foresee coming. I mean, I knew it was coming, but the way it went down was really heartless. So back in December, my mother was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. And when I was living in Florida, my mother and sister were living together in Florida at the same time after my father passed. They decided to move back to Albuquerque, where my sister had lived for many years. In fact, that my sister moved back in with my parents with the pretense that she was, taking care of mom and dad. But the truth is that she was swindled out of money from selling her trailer home. So she moved back in with mom and dad in her 60s. And I was only living about 40 minutes away in Florida from them. So my sister really wanted to get back to Albuquerque to be with her friends. And so she convinced my mother that she needed to move with her and that she was going to take care of her, moving away from my brother and myself. Well, I learned that I had convinced my mother to wait a year before she had moved away to just kind of level after she had just left my dad and a 65-year marriage. Well, I did not know this, but apparently my sister had a property lined up in Albuquerque that she wanted to buy, and I, of course, sabotaged it, and it made her very angry. And that's what I heard through the grapevine. So to make sure that I did not interfere in her plans to move back to Albuquerque, they left Florida without telling me or giving me a chance to say goodbye. They just snuck away, which really broke my heart and devastated me. I don't know. I didn't know anyone was capable of that kind of pain and hurt. But last week it got worse. So yes, they are. So they were living in Albuquerque and they still had contact with me on occasions. And so in December, my mother was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. And she had COPD also. My mother was an incredible, healthy person. She smoked her entire life and never had cancer and in general good health. She just turned 90. So I was speaking to my mother in the beginning of February, and somehow we got into an argument, and she hung up on me. And this was the same behavior that she had with her mother growing up. The relationship she had was with her mother growing up, from what I saw, was horrendous. They fought all the time. They hung up on each other all the time. And I was not interested in having a relationship like that with my own mother. The first time my mother hung up on me, I called her back and I said, you may not do that to me ever again. We are not repeating what you and your mother did. We're not repeating that. And so through the years, my sister left the family and I kind of became the matriarch by default. I'm the youngest. My sister left at 19 and kind of never returned. She only returned when she manipulated money out of my parents to pay for a flight home. My brother was mentally challenged because he had concussions on the frontal lobe of his brain, and it kept him slow and he's a mentally challenged person. And you wouldn't know that unless I told you, but because he comes off as normal, but we did lead different kind of lives, even though we're like 15 months apart. So then last week, my birthday came around at the end of February, and my mother didn't call me. So then I called her, and her phone number was blocked from me. And I know my sister did that because my mother is 90 years old and didn't even have a cell phone, doesn't know how to do that. So then I went to call my sister. She did not pick up the phone. And I was heartbroken. I was so heartbroken. But then last week, my sister topped that. So I was sitting at work, at my job, at my desk. My phone rings, and it's a phone number I didn't recognize, so I didn't pick it up. So later that night, I get home, and I listen to my voicemails. Yes, she left me a voicemail. She left me a voicemail telling me that our mother died, and she was sorry that she told me this way, and that she was sick and she couldn't talk. And that was it. And so I started texting her and calling her. No return. So my last call was, please have the decency to call me and tell me what happened. That's the least you can do for me. So then she did call me, and it was a cold and heartless message. And it was worse. Our mother died 2 months ago, on April 28th. And I was in complete shock. And she told me that they sold my mother's plot. She didn't want to be buried next to our father, and that they cremated my mother and threw her into the ocean. And it was with my brother and my nephew, and they didn't want me to interfere. So apparently my sister always feared that I had some effect on my mother, or somehow I would interfere with her plans. She had power of attorney, because that's what, of course, she got when she moved in Florida. She was very manipulative. She has stolen money from me over the years and my husband. She's a liar and a grifter and a thief. And she had to make sure that she got everything and making sure I didn't get anything. They sold a house in Florida, and they got good money for it from the money I gave them to make the repairs. So, and then just abandoned me, completely abandoned me. But the worst part was to find out that I was not allowed any closure with my mother. And now I'm trying to wrap my head around my mother dying without any closure. But my sister screwing me is not a surprise. She never liked me, never loved me. She's been a horrible sister to me. And my mother was actually upset with me. One of the fights we had after, before the last time I spoke to her, was she didn't like the way I treated my sister, which I didn't understand, since I really wasn't speaking to my sister. I always would call my mother. That's what I didn't understand. She said to me she didn't like the way I was treating my sister, which was no treatment at all, because we had not been in contact for a while. And over the years, I made sure I always stayed away from my sister, because she was just conniving, manipulative, mean-spirited to me, just kind of used me for money. But I did give her things. I gave her new cars. So it's not that I didn't help her either. I did. So I didn't understand the conversation. Like, what are you talking about? I haven't spoken to her for a while. And when I do speak to her, I don't drill up the past. We just talk factual. So I understand. My mother was 90. I'm sure she had some senility in there, and I'm sure, she wasn't in her right frame of mind. But for my sister to deny me closure to my own mother was, and I told her in the conversation, this was the most cruel and heartless thing you have ever done to me. And she just said to me, well, I guess this is the end of the conversation. And I just said, yes, I guess so. Have a nice life and goodbye. And so posting this has been just really hard for me because my feelings are so raw. I'm so hurt and betrayed. I'm in shock and trauma that my sister left the family for 40 years. I, by default, became the matriarch because she just left. My brother couldn't do it, so I kind of was the one who had to lead the family. Not that I wanted to, it was by no choice, by default. And when my sister had nowhere to live, she came back in, and she also swooped in at the same time my life was falling apart. So she swoops in, takes control of my parents when my life was falling apart, when I was going through bankruptcy, eviction, loss, everything. She took advantage of me at that time where she could take advantage of me at my weakest. Okay, I'm letting it go because that's what we have to do. I'm going to have to find my own closure with my mother because I know she will get her karma. We all get our karma in the end. It comes back to us. What you put in the universe will come back to you. And that's what I have told my children my whole life. Be careful what you put out in the universe because it will come back to you in tenfold. So I will end it here because I don't want to bring myself and everyone down so much, but I don't know what more to say. But I am hurting, and I thank God I live by the ocean because getting through this will be one of the hardest things I've ever gone through. And if you've gone through something like this, my heart goes out to you. You know, it was hard living with my mother. She was not a nice person. She was not kind. She was vindictive and nasty like my grandmother. And I tried to show her unconditional love my whole entire life. And I know I have peace that I tried to be the best daughter that I could and try to make up for what my sister and brother couldn't give her. I wish for peace on the other side. I need to find my peace somehow. And I need to be grateful also that my brother and sister are no longer in my life and can no longer hurt me. So I want to send you all love and peace, and I hope to see you and talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.